So here goes. Hear me out. In the realm of relationships, a complex interplay of energies often unfolds, blurring the lines between spiritual and psychological phenomenon. As individuals embark on their journey of self-discovery and personal growth, they may encounter experiences that defy conventional understanding, leading to confusion and misinterpretation. One such phenomenon that has captured the attention of many is the seemingly paradoxical dynamic between the commonly labeled narcissist and codependent or empath. At first glance, this dynamic may appear to be an unhealthy and very toxic pattern. The narcissist is driven by an insatiable need for admiration and control, and the codependent or empath drawn to the narcissistic's charisma while sacrificing their own well-being. However, when we view this through a spiritual lens, this connection takes on a profoundly different and transformative dimension. Okay, so again, this is just a disclaimer. You need to approach it with a delicate balance and a true self-awareness. I'm not suggesting at all that if you are in a abusive relationship that you should potentially view it as this, and this is where it becomes very tricky, okay? So the roots of this dynamic often lie in the realm of attachment styles and energetic resonance. The narcissist may embody the archetype of the runner or the avoidant, perpetually fleeing intimacy and vulnerability, most likely because they've been burned so many times, or something deep within their historical context, or even the genetic line, right? The psychological kind of genetic line may be causing this. While conversely, the codependent or empath represents a chaser type of energy or a push type of energy, desperately seeking closeness and connection. Again, typically rooted back in some sort of childhood trauma or something that's running through the lineage. This push and pull dynamic is fueled by a fearful attachment style where both parties unconsciously reenact past traumas and unresolved wounds. Yet beneath the surface level interpretation does lie a deeper truth, a truth that beckons us to transcend labels and embrace the potential for growth and healing inherent in these connections. When rooted in the sacred and true, these dynamics can serve as a powerful catalyst for one to begin inner work, fostering the deconstruction of limiting beliefs, insecurities, and traumas that have long held us and even our family line captive. The narcissist, in their pursuit of validation and often control for safety, basically, is ultimately seeking to fill a void that can only be addressed by confronting the very deep underlying fears and wounds that fuel their behavior. Similarly, and conversely, the codependent or empath, driven by a deep desire to heal and nurture, must confront their own tendencies towards self-abandonment, learning to establish true healthy boundaries and to cultivate self-love. That both parties are presented with an opportunity for profound transformation. The narcissist is invited to shed their defensive armor and to embrace vulnerability, while the codependent or empath is challenged to reclaim their power and authenticity. This journey is not without its challenges, for it demands a willingness to confront the deepest recesses of our psyches and to excavate root causes of our patterns and to embark on a path of radical self-acceptance and growth, a willingness to embrace the discomfort that accompanies true transformation. For those of us who embrace this journey, the rewards are immeasurable. What once appeared to be a toxic dynamic is transmuted into a sacred union, where the fires of personal growth and spiritual awakening forge a new path, a path that transcends labels and diagnoses and leads to a state of wholeness, self-acceptance, and authentic connection. This transformative process, traditional therapeutic modalities such as psychotherapy, medication, and diagnostic labels may serve as an initial stepping stone, but they are ultimately and profoundly eclipsed by the deeper work of self-inquiry, self-reflection, and a willingness to embrace the spiritual dimensions of our existence. Okay, so as we navigate the complexities of human connections and relationships and interpersonal dynamics, it is essential to remain open to possibilities that lie beyond the surface level interpretations. If we can embrace a spiritual perspective or allow room for a spiritual dimension and commit to the path of inner work, we do begin to transcend the limitations of labels and diagnoses and unlock the transformative potential that lies dormant, honestly, I believe, within all of our human experiences. So, depending on who you are and where you are in your life, this may feel very unhealthy, very triggering, or you may be breathing a sigh of relief or feel validated in this moment based off of these words. So basically, what I want to just add in is I've experienced this, and it came out of the blue. It was close to, I don't know, 8 plus 9 years ago that this started for me. And I will say that learning how to navigate and negotiate and compromise and open myself to a greater understanding it really shifts the trajectory of many things about who an individual is. It ultimately is a very personal experience. Again, the traditional realm that we exist in and the psychological interpersonal dynamic wants to always put blame on the other, right? And you can just go online right now. The current theme in this duality and the complexity of where we're at societally in the West is it's always the other guy's fault, is to put blame. I mean, the narcissist realm right now is formidable and just growing, right? Again, it requires each individual has to choose where they are on this spectrum in terms of these connections and what narrative that they want to proselytize, because there are countless amounts of people in the realm of blame and victim that you can find support from. And very often you can get caught in yet another loop of just being stuck and blaming this individual for whatever pain and suffering they may have caused you. Again, domestic abuse is real. I don't have to say that. But these interpersonal psychological dynamics that are really prevalent on the world stage today, I believe ultimately need to be directed more inwardly. And we really need to try to utilize these connections as a way for inner development and self-growth, and actually an opportunity to be able to see yourself in deeper dimensions. Again, there's so many places amongst this journey where it can become terrifying. It can become just so painful, and it feels so painful. There can be so much suffering involved in this deconstruction process. There are so many ways that you can just jump off the journey, disconnect, try to forget it. Again, go back into that blame and shame. It's easier. It feels like you can get some relief from people that want to acknowledge and talk about how you've been hurt. Okay. So for me, this journey, this dynamic that I was involved in had all of those elements: pain, suffering, change, inner change, external change. It involved everybody in my life, not just myself. It's something that we're not used to. We're often not used to. When we cultivate a life and we have belief systems within our life's journey, and we create a life based around particular belief systems, especially the ones that are proselytized in Western culture, is life is a process. You do this, right? You're working towards the American dream by going to school, getting good grades, participating in activities, going to college, getting your degree, getting married, being a staple in the society, this process may work for a few, but we're coming to realize that the expression externally in our world is that of a culture that has been pigeonholed into many boxes, and we've had to fragment in various ways that typically are overt and abusive or covert. And I believe right now, culturally in the West, we're seeing the exposure of the shadow, or the ways in which we have covertly or lied or hid aspects of ourselves to survive what we've created, and what we've created out of our own making, right? This journey beckons change. It calls for change, and not just internal change. Usually it's multifaceted, multi-tiered, and it usually starts from within and starts to express outwardly. Whereas before, I'll say the old paradigm or the way we've been doing it, if something's too complicated to change, if you feel stuck in a dynamic, I don't know, work or relationship, what have you, the I don't want to say easier way, but sometimes doing it consciously wasn't accessible. So we do things that start to put energy into the destruction that we want to actually have it happen to us. It's like we start to put stuff out in the world, or start to talk to people or leak information where it's like, all right, I'm putting myself out there and everything's going to destruct. Or you're talking bad about the boss, and you know that there's like somehow that door that it might get back to the boss and you're going to get fired, but ultimately that's what you really want, kind of thing. So again, this journey that I'm discussing is an opportunity for us to bring conscious awareness to who we are, the ways in which we've been led down a path, the ways in which we have lied, hid, covertly manipulated things to try to feel fulfillment, because we feel pigeonholed in spaces that either we no longer belong in, or actually we've never belonged in the first place, but now we have a life around it, right? So this is no joke. You're going to have to face the breakdown of yourself internally, but then reputational breakdown and hurt and things that could happen in what you've created if you want to start to actually align with a conscious and in a conscious life and in a conscious relationship. So this is playing out. It's quite a large movement, but unless you're in it, it's kind of more hidden. A term that's used is in the relationship dynamic of this is, sacred partnership, or even sometimes soulmates, or twin flames is the big one. Again, this is a confrontational connection, because it brings up and out through this really sacred kind of mirroring of goodness and truth, all that which is hidden deep, deep, deep within the tissue, the mind, the body, the everything. And a lot of people just can't handle it. They can't handle it, or they choose not to handle it. But deep inside, usually if you've been catalyzed, you know what the truth is. It's just a matter of, are you willing to face it? And there's many people who don't. There's many people who run from this process of becoming consciously involved in yourself, your life, and all of your relationships, because it's simply just too hard. And many people die and either never get this catalytic experience, and that's fine, or they get it and they choose not to do it, or they get it and they do it. And we're in this middle kind of period where these dynamics, these dimensions of life are kind of playing out simultaneously. And it can look and be very confusing when one aggregate population looks or judges another, right? So we are amidst a lot of change. And there's breakdown, but that also is always opportunity for profound growth and bringing something into existence that's true and good and actually very conscious, and healthy and healthy. And healthy by the way it feels. There's not a lot of the push pull. There's not a lot of drama. It might not be overly exciting. And that's something I talked about in my last video was humanity's addiction to drama and addiction to the hormones that come with drama and fight or flight and stress hormones. And, so we can be very, dualistic in our thinking where we claim that we want peace and balance and why can't this just be good and healthy? But then if we get a taste of that, it doesn't feel exciting anymore, right? All of a sudden we're bored. So again, it's just a time in life where relationships are very complicated, and a lot of people are struggling deeply within the context of their relationship, and either they're faking it to make it, or they're breaking down. And it's nice to understand that we're all at different spaces and we're all going through this a little bit differently. And if you exist in one of these bubbles, try to have compassion for someone else who may be going through something that you quite don't understand, because it may come around to try to get you at some point as well. So let's try to have a little more compassion with each other. Ultimately, being single has its benefits. For me, being single for an extended period of time was exactly what I needed as a young woman, and a woman developing in today's world. That ability to understand what it takes to survive without needing or just falling into this program of, going from one man to the next. I mean, I've had a significant amount of time single in my past, and man, it was so wonderful, right? But at some point, you want to get back to relationship then, because ultimately, the next layer of growth and development evolves through trying again and opening your heart again and being back in relationship, right? And ultimately, you want it to be with somebody that you don't have to struggle with. Again, we've normalized that. We've normalized the struggle. We've normalized the pain, right? Relationships are hard. Work is hard. You just got to push through it. And we're not there anymore. We've realized that isn't authentic, and it's damaging to our mind, our body, and our souls, ultimately. So there are people on a new path. Try to be open to them before you judge them. Try to be a little more loving and understanding. We're trying to do this better, trying to do it a little bit different. So to the evolutionaries out there, I see you, I hear you, and I really connect with the ability to do what it takes to build something that's truly sustainable, where we don't have to be so fragmented and lie and hide and be covert or explode things or what have you. So thanks for listening to my little rant today. Have a good day.